Park City, Utah right now on a little family vacation and wanted to just do a little sit and knit here in Park City. I am still working on a project from Literary Knits by Nicole Lohr, a different one than the last time when I was in Brooklyn. I am working on the Billy Pilgrim socks. So I've been doing these on 2 circular needles at the same time, similar to how I demonstrated doing this with a bag. If you want to check out that how-to video, go ahead and do so here. But I just wanted to kind of show it in action, and I'm getting very close. These socks are for my grandpa. They're made with some color changing yarn. Excuse me. These color changing yarn is actually left over from a sweater that I did where I didn't have enough yarn, so I did 2 sock yarn held together to get the worsted weight of the sweater itself. So a good way to use up some of this yarn and also make a gift for my grandpa. So here is where we are. It needs to be about 13 and a half or 14 inches long. So I guess let's go ahead and measure. I'm going to do one more repeat, I think, and then call it good, but we'll just go ahead and measure. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, perfect. It's at about 13 and a half inches. Oh, almost 14 actually. That's great. So I should be able to just finish this repeat and then start doing the decreases for the toe. This is a sock pattern that was inspired by or modified from some Knit Your Bit pamphlets from during World War II. Also testing out this microphone. I don't know, there's a big truck going by, so we will see how well this microphone does at picking up me and not everything around me. Although I kind of hope you can hear some of this beautiful ambiance here. There's a little man-made waterfall, just like falling water that's recycled, which I love that sound. So that's why I wanted to sit out here and knit today. And I'm just on the deck of the timeshare that my parents have. So there are prettier places in Park City that I could have shown you, but this is what we're getting today. All right, so when I'm working on 2 things at the same time, I can tell which one I need to start on based on where the yarn is. So this yarn here is in between where the middle part of the needles are, so I couldn't start knitting on this sock, so I have to start knitting on this one. So there we go, just line up my needles. And what I have been doing lately is actually kind of folding the second sock behind, so I have these curves right here, and I can pull out the back needle, and this is very similar to how I did it on my bag, but I hadn't thought of kind of folding them in half until recently, and I'm really liking it. Okay, so go ahead and dive into the knitting, the actual knitting. I think this is a pretty cool pattern. I've never done tube socks before. I've only ever done socks that have both toes and heels, but I don't actually know the exact size. I mean, I know my grandpa's shoe size, but I don't have information about his exact shoe size, foot size. And also this pattern was meant to be knit for people you don't know or who you don't have access for checking whether it's long enough before you start doing the toe or the heel. So it is done in this kind of spiral rib pattern where you can see those like diagonal lines coming up. That helps keep the sock tight around the foot once you put it on, or snug, I guess, not tight. Kind of like at the very top of socks they have. Okay, so I finished that side. But so like the top, the whole sock is like that, so it'll help it stay up. And I've put it on my foot, my mom's put it on her foot, and it seems to work pretty well. Okay, so now I have here my 2 needles in the middle and a big circle. So I'm going to now turn the socks again. So this is the one I was just working on. It's going to be in the back. And the one I'm about to work on, I will pull the tube until it's ready to knit. And then I'm going to pull the outside back one. There we go. And then I'll just knit my way across here. So you end up doing side A of both socks, and then side B of the second sock, and side B of the first sock last when you knit in the round this way. This pattern had an option to reverse the spirals so that they would turn towards each other when you were wearing them. But I decided not to try and do that because you would have to do different things on the 2 socks, and I didn't want to think that hard about this project when I was doing it. It's been a nice, I do have to watch because I'm changing stitches a lot. It's just a 4-stitch repeat, but I don't have to think about what to be doing on each sock. Just making sure I'm doing the knits and purls in the right order. This is kind of an off-season time up in Park City, which is really nice to be here during that time. All right, doing the switch again. This is the one I was just working on. Move it to the back, move this one to close to me, and then I'm going to find the front needle and pull on that cord. Oh no, I did something wrong. Oh. I'm not actually switching socks, this is what I was just telling you. So I did side A, and now I need to do side B on this side. But, like I was mentioning in the beginning, where the yarn is tells me, I thought I needed to switch to this sock, but the yarn is in the cords in the middle, and the yarn on this one is close to the needle. So, I will just turn the sock and then kind of fold this one in front. Once they're folded, I'm going to take the needle that's on the outside, farthest away from me, and then knit my way across again. And then I just have one more side left in this round. It is so relaxing to just hear that water flowing in the background. I know it's a pretty typical thing, but I just really love the sound of running water. In fact, when I was a kid, that used to be one of the only ways my parents could keep me calm, especially while changing my diaper. Okay. Turn that again. I also have had a bit of trouble not tangling the yarn, especially before I started kind of folding it this way. I feel like I was turning the socks a lot more, which twisted up the yarn. I'll show you what I've kind of been doing when I get to the end of this side. Okay, so I'm back to two sides. My yarn is actually not tangled this time, but I have it in this Ziploc bag. Oh yeah, and here's the yarn. So I've been using this painted sock, and I think this one is the Samoa Sunset. I got two of them. No, this is the Golden Gate. So the painted sock, Golden Gate, and it's been really nice to work with. It does have multiple colors. It's a little bit blurry there, but it has multiple colors mixed together. So it is a bit easier to split your yarn with this, but it's just really fun to have that double color change. So I have it in this Ziploc bag, and then I have this Ziploc bag down inside my knitting bag by my feet, and that helps me notice when it's getting tangled and just be able to kind of turn it. And this folding in half method has minimized the amount of twist that I've been getting in between. Good. I thought that I just twisted it as I was talking about that, but I did not. All right, so let's go ahead and do this last row of the repeat. Still getting in that habit. So what I was doing before is I left it open, and so I guess it kind of folded, but it was more towards me and was bringing this needle in front. That also would get my yarn tangled up in the needles. So when I do the sock behind and bring the needle from behind towards me, then only the needle I'm working with is mixed up with the yarn. So I bring it over the top of the other needle on the same sock, and then it's not anywhere near these other cords or the needles that the other half of the cord connected to the other sock. So I highly recommend this fold in half technique. So this is actually like a 4x4 repeat pattern, where you have 4 stitches and then you do 4 rows and then shift. It's quite slick. She also had a variation that used, well, it added like a little bit of a lacy look to it. I'm pretty sure it used yarn overs and knit 2 togethers, but I have to look. But I decided not to do that lacy look for my grandpa. But I have enjoyed these socks enough that I would consider trying them again. I also appreciate she did the pattern for more than one weight of yarn. So I could use a thicker, a DK, or even a chunky weight yarn with this same pattern, just casting on fewer stitches. I think they actually could be kind of fun as slippers or socks to wear to bed if I did them with thicker yarn and then did that lacy pattern. I think that would be fun. So getting distracted with what I was thinking about as I was preparing to change to the next side. Maybe it also just twists and untwists the yarn, because I'm looking at that now and it is twisted a little bit. So we'll see if it untwists when I go to the other side of these socks. Does anyone have opinions about the weight of yarn for socks? Are you a sock weight yarn only sock knitter, or do you like doing socks with thicker yarn? I think for me sometimes it depends on, well, the pattern itself, I suppose, as well, for sure, but also what I want to use them for. My feet do get kind of cold at night depending on the time of year and where I am, but I like having socks on at night. Yeah, so as I turned to get ready to go down the next side of this sock, it untwisted the yarn. All right, folding it in half, pulling this tube in and this tube out. I don't know if this is just these needles, but it's kind of kinking right there, so I may just pull it so it's not quite as far out. I've been noticing that for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches of this sock. It may have been happening before and I just wasn't really paying attention, but these needles were actually donated to me. I'm a part of this knitting circle. We started at the library, but then moved onto Zoom during COVID. And anyway, I was just telling the ladies in my group that I needed to get some circular, or I wanted really small circular needles to do socks. And one of them was like, oh, I don't ever use needles below size 3, and I had this whole cheap set, so I'll give you all of my needles that are under 3. So now I have this nice set of small circular needles, and I look forward to making lots of socks with them. Okay. Got a little tangled. Just take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, this is the last side. Someone's mountain biking past. Well, I suppose technically they are on the road right now, but they're on a mountain bike heading up, I'm sure, to one of the trails around here. That is one of the things that we did. My brothers have already, oh, I don't know if you can hear that. There's a big hill right here, and usually bikes are the loudest when you're coasting. And you're doing mostly pedaling when you're going up a steeper hill. But my brothers and I, and my dad and one of my brother's girlfriends, we did some mountain biking up here. I had to rent a bike because I don't own a mountain bike, and even if I did, I'm sure I wouldn't have brought it out. But it was a lot of fun, and it was the first time that I've been mountain biking in at least a decade. But I was quite proud of myself for how I did hit a couple rocks that stopped me, but I rolled over most of them, learning some new lingo about mountain biking. And again, it's been at least a decade, and I've never done any serious mountain biking, but we did some true intermediate parts. We were in this area that had a bunch of trails that kind of like loop and intersect, so we just kind of pieced several together based on how we were feeling at the time. And I do have to say, living at sea level and then coming up to the mountains here, somewhere between like 8,000 and 10,000 feet around here, my body did not like it. The breathing part. When I was little, we came up here, and I lived at about 5,000 feet elevation, 5 to 7,000 feet elevation, and they have these shirts that said "Got Oxygen," and I just laughed at them. I thought it was so funny. But now that I live somewhere where there is more oxygen in the air, and I came back, I was like, I could unironically wear that shirt now. I didn't buy it, and I didn't actually see one this time, but yeah. All right, here are the socks. Let's do one more measure. Got my measuring tape hanging out over here. It's hard to hold it up, keep it nice and straight to measure it, but there we are. I'll just hold it in place. So we've hit 14, basically exactly. And 14 was for again, my grandpa's kind of in between the small and medium. So I cast on, so I'm like kind of in between where I wanted to be, or where the pattern says for these. But I think it'd be good. My dad said my grandpa doesn't really like very tall socks, so now it's time to transition to the toes, start doing the decreasing, and I should have only about 2 inches left to go, and it should be a little bit faster because it's being done in stockinette instead of in pattern, and then also because it's going to start decreasing. So thanks for joining me for a little sit and knit here in Park City. I hope you learned something, or at least found this enjoyable and relaxing. I will include a couple of pictures here at the end that I took during our stay, so you can see a little bit more of the beauty and fun that we enjoyed here in Park City as a family. Until next time, happy knitting! Oh, P.S. If you want to learn more about Literary Knits by Nicole Lore, I did do a knitting book review video, so you can check it out here.